Welcome. We'll get started in just a moment. Welcome in, everybody. I guess I should get my code ready. Get rid of my archive dialog from archiving a build. Make a new playground page. And call this functions. All right. All right, everybody. Welcome to week 6 of Apple App Development. Again, I'm Michael Doise. I'm sure everybody knows who I am by now. We have Taylor Arndt with us. Taylor will be helping out when she can. Hi, Taylor.
Hello.
All right. This class may not take us the whole time, but it's a very important class. So we're going to go through everything that we can here. This class today is to introduce functions, and we'll introduce that in just a minute. But people may have noticed there was not an assignment last time. That is because there's going to be a combined assignment with this class, with kind of everything that we've done up to now. So I will speak to that at the end of class today. Do we have any questions about the current material or any of what has been presented so far? Any questions about what's been presented so far? Just raise your hand and I will call on you. Okay. Any questions in general about any materials or concepts or help with anything that we're doing with the class in general? Okay. I am not seeing any hands. All right. So I guess everybody's good. I have been monitoring the class. I have not checked the last day or so, but I've been looking at quizzes and other things that have been put up, and I've returned pretty much everybody's work that has been turned in. So everybody seems to be doing pretty good. Any questions about any of the assignments or work? Okay. All right. Well, let's get to it then. Um, uh, I was just thinking we will be busy Saturday afternoon. So, Taylor, what will office hours look like? Are you going to have them early morning on Saturday, or what is your plan?
Um, I don't know that I'll be able to have him early Saturday because we're gonna be really busy, so probably Sunday.
Okay. So, probably going to have office hours on Sunday this week.
Am I robotic?
Slightly, but you're fine.
Okay.
All right. Okay, this is a big topic, so we're going to focus all of today on this topic. And that topic is going to be functions. We're going to cover, if you look at the agenda, we're going to cover everything related to functions today. And functions are a way that we can split up code into different sections in a programming language. Okay. Functions are, we have, when we write code, it's kind of top down. We start with one line, we go to the next, we go to the next. Functions are a way we can split up our code into blocks that can be reused at different times. The print statement's a function. We've looked at several other functions like the int and other other functions that we can use to perform actions on variables. So Swift functions are going to look slightly different from what you're used to. So what is a function? A function, let me share my screen. A function in Swift works very similarly to other languages, but they are slightly different in how arguments are handled. Okay. So that is the one thing to keep in mind. Okay. We're going to share Xcode. Functions.xc playground. Okay. And then let's press the share button. So we use functions all the time, and that's called calling a function. So if we do print left parentheses double quote hello world exclamation mark double quote right parentheses, we are declaring, we are calling a function. We're saying I want to use this function, and with our playgrounds, it automatically shows the output of hello world. Okay, so we have called a function. We have used a function in our code. All right, so we know how to call functions, and we can do that just by calling, the print statement. And I'm just writing a comment for call functions. We use the print statement. Now, I can use my own, I could put the print statement inside my own code block if I wanted to. Not sure why you would want to, but I can create a function by using the word func, F-U-N-C, space, some function, and I put parentheses, kind of like the print statement has parentheses, but you have to put stuff in it. And so I've put some function with a capital F, and then left parentheses, right parentheses, and a space, and a left brace. And that's going to create a right brace and create a code block. Then I could write print left parentheses double quote, you called some function, exclamation mark double quote right parentheses. So we have our print statement inside of this code block of some function. Then below it, we can add a comment, call some function. And we could do sum function with a capital F like we had before. Left parentheses, right parentheses, new line. So we just put some function in our parentheses to call our function. And what that does is it was a quick way to print you've called some function. And one of the things that I could do, because I've done that, instead of having to write that whole print statement, I could copy some function in the parentheses and I could paste it, a number of times, and it will call that function repeatedly. So I have let's see. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 calls of some function. And that will repeat it 9 times. And because I called the function 9 times, it just has that same print statement. So this is how we can take one piece of code, which is the print, the some function, parentheses, left brace. We put the print statement inside the code block, and then we can just call that same print statement 10 times if we want. We can, instead of doing that 10 times, another thing we can do is this. We can use a for statement. So we could say, or we could use a while statement. We could do var number, our sum number. Let's not be ambiguous with our variable names. Sum, capital Number, equals 9. And then we could do while some number is greater than 0, left brace. Remember our while loops. And then we could do some function. And we have our parentheses on the end of some function. And then we decrement. So we would have some number minus 1. Minus equals 1. Okay. And that would accomplish the same thing as what we were doing above with calling it 9 times. So we basically just called it 18 times. The difference is we wrote the same code in 5 lines instead of 9. Okay. So we've made a basic function, and we used a while loop to call that function 9 times. Okay. So that's how you declare a basic function to do a thing. I want to see if anybody has any questions about that before we move on. So if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. Even if something didn't make sense and you want me to clarify, feel free. Well, I hope I'm making sense. All right. We have a small group, so if you would like to just unmute and ask your questions, that's fine.
Michael, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to raise my hand. This is Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
Hey, can you explain the part about the -0, 1 or whatever the last part you said. You lost me.
Sure.
Okay, you lost me at that point.
So if you remember in the while loop,
Yeah.
we have in our while loop we have, let me move some windows out of my way here. In our while loop, we have a variable that is some number, right?
hmm
Outside of the while loop.
Yeah.
Var some number equals 9.
hmm
Then we have while some number is greater than 0.
Oh,
So in other words, the loop will end when some number is 0.
gotcha. Okay, now I think I got it. Sorry about that.
No problem. And so we're printing, we're running the command some function,
Mm,
and then we're decrementing by 1.
gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Mhm. And, you could use minus equals to decrement. You can increment by doing plus equals as well. Okay, any other questions? Okay. And keep in mind this code will go up on the platform after we're done in individual files. Okay.
Michael,
Yes.
quick question, and sorry about the echo, my iPad went bizarre. When you have that, some number minus equals 1, and you have that in parentheses in the function, that's like, is that like sending it a parameter, inside that parentheses? Is that what
So-
that's doing?
So no, so the code is var some number equals 9,
Right.
while some number is greater than 0, left brace. And then then we're running some function, left parentheses, right parentheses. Then on the line below that, we have some number minus equals 1.
Okay, I missed all right. All right,
And then
thank you. That makes better sense to me. Okay,
Gotcha. And then we have our closing brace after that.
got it. No problems. Thank you.
Absolutely. So that is a basic function with no arguments. And we're just running through that 9 times. Now, functions can take arguments. So we can use different arguments in our functions. Typically, Swift wants you to strongly type your functions. So if I did func, the proper format would be func print person with a capital P, left parentheses, first name colon space string. How do we get a? I accidentally put a double quote, I guess. Colon string, comma. So we could use 1 argument or we could use 2 or however many we want. Last name with a capital N, colon string, right parentheses, space, left brace, new line. So we're doing what's called defining our function. Because when we use the word func, we're saying we're defining what the function is. Okay, so this is a function definition with 2 arguments. So we have 2 arguments in the function name. So now I can do print, left parentheses, double quote, hello, space, backslash, parentheses, first name, because those are variables that we've created, and those variables cannot be changed. Space, backslash, after the right parentheses, we do a space, backslash, parentheses, last name. Right parentheses, exclamation mark, double quote, right parentheses. Okay. Now, that is how we write a function definition and create the function. So I'm going to go below the function and I'm going to call it. And what we're going to do is we have to explicitly write our argument names. So we're going to do print person to call the function, left parentheses, and then I have to type my arguments. First name, first name, colon, double quote, Michael, double quote, comma, last name, colon, double quote, Doughies, double quote, right parentheses. And so now that I've done that, I've called the function because and it has in our output, hello, space, Michael, space, Doughies, exclamation mark. So we know we wrote it right. So we have a definition of name. And what I could do is in here, I could change Michael to Taylor, and then we could change the last name to Arndt. And then it will say, hello, Taylor Arndt. Now, why is this useful? It means that we can use dynamic data in function calls for our arguments, okay? Any questions on those? We basically use two variables as strings and Fenton.
Yeah. So we must know the argument's name before putting an actual name in it when calling the function.
That is the default behavior, but I'm going to show you a way to get around that.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
So that is the default behavior for Swift. Any other questions about the basic use of arguments here?
You mentioned, sorry, a follow-up. You mentioned that in Swift is a little bit different than what we're used to in terms of what functions are being written out. What was that difference? I forgot.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay,
That kind of is part of your first question.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. They look very similar on the surface, but Apple typically does things to make it a little different. And we're going to do that next because I feel like that's going to be the hardest to get our head around. And I just want to make sure I get the format right for this. So what I'm talking about with this is we can hide the variables where we don't have to type it, or we can use verbs in our function names. And I'm just looking, I have code that I'm looking at that we're going to use. Also, functions can have multiple different variable types. Okay, here we go. So let's see. Find my right window. Okay. We can have functions, and you'll see this with a lot of iOS. Functions where it's a sentence more than it is a function name. And what this means is, okay, I'll just write it because that will help us to just talk it out. It's very different. So you can have functions that are more of a sentence structure. So we can do func say hello, left parentheses, to space name colon string. And then right parentheses space left brace, print left parentheses double quote hello space backslash parentheses name right parentheses exclamation mark double quote right parentheses. Now that looks very different, and what it means is when I call this function, it looks human readable. Okay, so we have say hello left parentheses to colon and then the placeholder is string, so we could do double quote, and we could put Jim double quote right parentheses. Okay, and so our output is going to say hello Jim. So they do this to make things look a little more human readable. So instead of it being just the variable's name, we can say hello to, and then argument contents. A lot of other languages don't have things like that. So instead of having just the variable name show up in when we're looking at the arguments, we could do something like, let's see, func, let's see, play song left parentheses by colon string with artist colon not colon with artist space artist colon string right parentheses space left brace enter. Okay, and I missed a comma between the word string with artist. So now I could put print left parentheses double quote now playing song backslash parentheses song right parentheses by artist colon backslash parentheses artist right parentheses period double quote right parentheses. We got a print statement. Okay, and which one did I get wrong? Oh, I put by and then by colon. What we need to do is by space song. And that's where I messed up. So our function declaration is func play play song by oh I let's see. Let's change that to func play parentheses song space song name comma or colon string with artist string. So we have print now playing song backslash song, and we want to change song in our print statement to song name by artist backslash artist. So when we write out our function below, and I'll reread this so it because I know we had to change some things. We're going to write play song colon double quote. Let's see. What song do I want to say we're going to play? Turn the page. Double quote, comma, by, colon, double quote, Metallica. I'm not sure if I spelled Metallica right, but double quote, right parentheses. And it's saying we have an issue. Play song. Let's see. Incorrect argument label in call. Okay. That is not the incorrect label, but it might be that there's already a function named play. So let's do play this as our function name. So we're going to do play this, and then play this. I do not understand why that is incorrect, because that is the same thing we did. So a lot of people don't use this format. Song name string with artist. Oh yes, we remove by, and it's the variable is let's change that. I'm going to reread this to make it more readable. Okay, so on our line we have func play this parentheses song space song name colon string by space artist colon string. So it's more of a sentence. And then we have print parentheses double quote now playing song backslash parentheses song name right parentheses by artist colon backslash parentheses artist right parentheses period double quote right parentheses. And then we have our function call, which is play this parentheses song colon turn the page in quotes comma by colon double quote Metallica double quote right parentheses, and that's my favorite version of the song. I know it's not the original, but so in our output we have now playing song turn the page by artist Metallica. Okay, so this is why Swift functions can look different. And you'll see this a lot in iOS app development. So you'll see this format be slightly different from other languages that you've written code in. I think this is one area where the code on the web page, seeing how it is, will really help this. Any other questions, or can I clarify this in a different way? Okay. Fenton.
Not sure how to ask this, but are those extra words in the definition of the parameters keywords that you must use? The word, to make it more readable, I'm confused what the word song is, and I'm confused what the word buy is. Are those keywords, or are they optional words, or what are they? I mean, what is supposed to be the syntax of this way of
Kind of
writing?
whatever you want it to be. So you could phrase it however you want. For example, Apple had one that was very common, and that was application did finish launching. Did finish launching was the function name with options, options colon whatever it was. And with options is the verb, or is kind of the describing word that they used. So did finish launching was the function name. With options was kind of the to or by that they used. So you will see this a lot more with Apple. You don't have to use these, but I wanted you to know that you can. And it's different from other languages.
Mhm. And is it limited to one word for each variable within your parameter list?
It is, but you could use camel case to kind of like you can use camel case to split it up into multiple words if you need.
Not familiar with the term camel case.
Yes, it will take camel case, yeah.
Sorry, what is camel case? Sorry.
Camel case is where you have multiple words where every word is a capital letter except for the first word, which is lowercase.
Oh, with no space in between.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you notice, like I have some function is camel case. So lowercase s, capital F.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions? Because I know these concepts are not easy. Okay. Now, let's talk about how to return data from a function. And this is something that is back to form, something that we kind of know how to do if you write other languages. So let's use a basic addition function. We're going to write func add numbers with a capital N, left parentheses. And then I'm going to use another trick that I have not showed you yet. I'm going to use an underscore at the beginning. And I'm going to use a space, and I'm going to put number one. The number one. So number number 1, comma, space underline, which is an underscore, space number 2. Well, actually, let me back up. After number 1, I need to put colon int with a capital I. And then after the int, a comma, underscore, space number 2, colon int, right parentheses, left brace, new line. Now, that opened our function and indented us in. And we're going to do something very simple. We're going to put return number 1, plus number 2. Okay, we're going to go below our function. Why doesn't it like that? Number 1, colon int, number 2. Okay. Unexpected non-void return value in void. Oh, that is a very ambiguous error. So it says unexpected non-void return value in void function. And what that means is it means they need to change how they write error messages. But at the end of our function declaration, after we have our right parentheses, we need to put a space and then create an arrow with a dash greater than, and we're going to return an integer, so capital INT. This is where knowing variable types is important, folks. So our function is going to return an int. So we have, again, func add numbers, parentheses, underscore, space number 1, colon, space int, with capital I, comma, space underscore, space number 2, colon int with a capital I, right parentheses, space dash greater than with our arrow, space int with a capital I, space left brace, and then we have our returned number 1 plus number 2. What that's going to do is it's going to add those two numbers and return those as the value of our function. So then we could write print, left parentheses, double quote, 5 plus 3 equals backslash left parentheses, add numbers, left parentheses, 5 comma space 3, right parentheses, and then right parentheses, because we have to use 2 parentheses there, period, double quote, right parentheses. And so we're going to have 5 plus 3 equals 8, because we did several things here. We called a function within our print statement. So not only do we call a function in our print statement, we use 2 arguments. Number 1, which is 5, number 2, which is 3. Now, why did I not need to use number 1 colon 5 and number 2 colon 3? It's because I used a shortcut and used the underscores, which said the user or the programmer does not need to enter the values here. They don't need to know the argument names when they create this function. It's just assumed, okay? And we'll go into more depth in this, and Taylor could probably do more in office hours. But, or if y'all want, we could do a little more examples, but that's kind of the basics of how you can do that in a function. And we use the return type of integer.
Michael?
Any questions there?
Yeah, this is Jim. I thought that you said before that the tags were optional, like the song name, uh, song colon was optional and by colon was optional. Is that not the case? Are they required?
They are not required.
Then what's the difference between putting in some arbitrary tag name and putting in an underscore?
So if you put in an underscore, it tells Apple you don't need a tag name, nor do you need to know the variable name. Because if you don't use the tag name, then you use the variable name. If you use underscore as the tag name, then you don't have to use any of them.
So how? Oh, so if I don't use the tag, I have to put the variable name in. So
Yes.
I either have to say by colon or I have to say artist colon.
Yes.
So the tags are just aliases. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. I like the way you call those as tags. That makes the most sense. Okay. So that was kind of a high level of that. We can make another version of this that looks a little bit more readable, and we can do func add more numbers, left parentheses, number 1 colon string. I probably should have done this version first, comma, our number 1 colon int, comma, number 2 colon int, right parentheses, space left brace. And then to make it easier to read, I could put, well, we're going to show off how to do a local variable. Var answer equals number 1 plus number 2, return answer. And I kind of forgot to do my my arrow at the end of the function call, arrow int. So I would have func add more, which capitalize the M and more. I didn't do that. Add more numbers. So you have the in or the M and more and numbers, in and numbers capitalized. Number 1 comma int comma colon int comma number 2 colon int right parentheses dash greater than int left brace. Var answer equals number 1 plus number 2. And that just adds the two numbers together and assigns it to the variable. Return answer. And then we could do, we could then do print. Well, let's see. We could put let the answer equals add more numbers, parentheses, number 1 colon, oh, not number one, oh yeah, number 1 colon 5 comma number 2 colon 3 right parentheses. And then we can do print, left parentheses, double quote, how do we write that? 5, actually, yeah, 5 plus 3 is backslash parentheses the answer, because that is a variable that we wrote here. And that's valid. It will write the same thing. We just wrote the same thing, but with a lot more code. It was a lot longer. Okay. Now, let's talk about one more thing. In our function, we have var answer, but that's a local variable to the function. So we could use it anytime we're in the function. But if I were to go, if I were to go out of here and say print left parentheses answer, because we're outside of the function, I'm going to get an error. Cannot find answer in scope, because answer was a variable that we created inside of our function, and that's a local variable. Okay. So I'm going to comment that out, and I'm going to write as a comment, answer is local and out of scope when not in the add more numbers function. Okay. Okay. So that's two ways to do the same thing. The first way is more effective. You have 4 lines of code. This last approach was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code. So again, you're looking at more efficient ways of doing the same thing. Because we didn't have to declare a variable, we just put stuff right in the return statement and things like that. Okay. All right, Fenton.
Could you explain what that dash greater than sign to an integer means, and without it, what happens?
Sure. So the dash greater than is like an arrow. It says it is the return type. So you have to tell your code what type of output the function is going to have. So if I'm creating a function to calculate a value, I can get a return out of the function. If you notice, our very first function does not have a return value. It just runs the code, and once it's done, it's done. We don't get anything back from it. It just runs that code, right? These functions get a return value, which means we're getting a result from running that code.
If you don't have that written there, what error did you get?
So if you don't have that dash greater than, you're getting a what's called a you're saying that the function doesn't return anything, or in the style of C or C++, it's a void function. So that's why it said, you know, you're trying to return code from a void declared function. So that's why you'll see about a void function whenever you don't have that there.
Okay. And you could say double if you wanted to, right?
Absolutely. Or string or bool.
Would you do would it do you a favor if your return value is an integer? I'm sorry, if your return value type is an integer, but if you do a specifying dash greater than to be a string, would it do you a favor and do a conversion for you, or you have to do something special?
So your return has to be the same that you put in. So not as your arguments. It has, if you do that dash greater than and you say string, it must be a string. If you put dash greater than int, then you must return an int.
Okay.
But you can also return an array. You can also return a dictionary. So you can return dynamic content based on what your function returns. So here's another example of something that you could do. If you wanted to write this, you could do func is connected to internet. Left parentheses, right parentheses. We don't take any arguments, right? Hit one too many parentheses. And we're going to return a Boolean. So we're going to do left, we have a parentheses, dash greater than, space, bool. with a capital B. We're going to do left brace. And we're going to do var. We're going to do a comment. Connection logic goes here. So see, we're writing code without, this is how you do these things in an application, folks. You put a comment where code is supposed to go. Or I could even do a comment and say, to do with a capital TODO, dash, connection logic goes here. Okay. Then I could say, we're just going to say is connected, or var is, no. What you do in our actual program is put the variable first. So above the comment, var is connected equals false. And so we know that it's going to be false. So then we could say if space is connected, space left brace, print, if is connected, return true. Else, left brace, return false. Okay. So then we're going to do, let's see. It says it will never, if is connected, return true, return false. And it's saying that will never be executed when we say return true because it knows that it's false. So it's giving us a warning. So outside of our function, let's do if is connected to internet. And because this returns true, we don't need to ask equals true. We could just do a check. If is connected to internet, parentheses, the two parentheses, space left brace, print, left parentheses, double quote, you are connected to the internet. Cannot type this evening. And then after our right brace, we're going to do else, space left brace, print, left parentheses, double quote, you are not connected to the internet. Okay. So what we get in our output is you are not connected to the internet. So let's go up here in our function and change. And what you would do is you would use code to check if you are connected and then change the value of is connected to true or false based on the connection status of the internet connection. And we're going to change it from false to true. And our print statement is going to say you are connected to the internet because we returned true. Okay. So you can return a variable name or you could return a value, which is what we did. Okay. I can return strings, I can return ints, I can return booleans, anything, or arrays. Okay. You could put loops inside of if statements. Instead of functions, you could do if statements. You could do switches. You could do all the things. But one thing to remember is variables created inside of these areas are always local. They will be destroyed after the function is ran and closed. Okay. The exception is if you create a variable outside the function, outside of the scope of the function. So that is the basics on that. Any questions on these things so far?
So Michael, what is the advantage or I guess of doing like local variables since you said the first way is more efficient? And
That's a
why would you
really
want
good
to do this?
That's a really good question. If you declare all of your variables outside of a function, and you get something that gets a hold of that variable and grabs a bunch of data, and it's not removed, you can either have memory leaks,
Mhm.
or you could have a security vulnerability because something can get data outside of the scope of a function. If you make sure to declare your variables in that function, they only exist as long as that function is needed. And
Okay.
as the process runs the function and gets rid of it, then the variable goes away every time and it doesn't store data in memory that's not needed.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Can you force a local variable global?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, no, you just declare it outside the function.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, any other questions?
Michael, I don't know if you're going to get to this, but is it possible to pass an arbitrary number of arguments to a function?
I have not seen, I know you can. I have not done this. But I'm pretty sure you can. Let's see. Let's ask everybody's favorite thing called AI to see if you can.
I didn't hear the question. What was it again?
Can I write a function that adds an arbitrary number of numbers together? So rather than having a fixed number of arguments, have an arbitrary number of arguments.
Right. So I believe you can. And so basically you just add ... to the end of an argument.
Okay. And then the argument of the rest of them is the same as the argument of the last declared variable.
Right. So if we wanted to do that, let me show an example of that because I think that's a good thing to show. So we would do let's see. We're going to call the function describe person, func describe describe person, left parentheses name, colon, string, right parentheses, not right parentheses, comma, hobbies, colon, string, ... right parentheses, space left brace. We're not going to return anything on this function. And that is legal syntax. Okay. So then what we can do is what that's going to do is basically create an array. So we could do print left parentheses, double quote, name, colon, space, backslash, parentheses, name, and then right parentheses, double quote, right parentheses, and then we would do print left parentheses, double quote, hobbies, colon, space, double quote, right parentheses, and then we could do for hobby and hobbies, space, left brace, and then we can do in there, we could do print. We could even make it, we could do bullet points. So we could do a asterisk or a dash. We're going to do a dash, left parentheses, double quote, dash, space, backslash, parentheses, hobby, right parentheses, double quote, right parentheses. So we've got a little program that prints our name and then our hobbies. And then outside the function, what we can do is we could say describe person, describe person, left parentheses, name, colon, space, double quote, Michael, double quote, comma, hobbies, colon. And what we would do for that is we would do, we could just separate them by strings. We don't have to put it in the form of an array, which is really cool. So we can do hobbies, double quote, technology or tech, double quote, comma, space, double quote, photography, double quote, comma, space, double quote, swimming, double quote, comma, double quote, travel, double quote. So now that is totally legitimate. And our output at the end says name, colon, Michael, hobbies, and then we have bullet points of tech, photography, swimming, and travel. See, we used a function that took multiple arguments, and we could put as many as we want in that argument. Now, I think that you would have to, that's an argument with multiple values. I don't think that's exactly what we're talking about by having multiple arbitrary arguments, though. Let's see what else that we can do here. But that is a really cool use of using multiple items in an argument. But that's kind of like with the print statement where you could have multiple strings in a print statement. So let's see, what else can we do? So we can have, we can just do, we can also do, so we could have like func print number, print numbers underscore numbers colon int dot dot dot, which would do the same thing. So yeah, it looks like you could have multiple variable or multiple of the same parameter. the same argument done in the same function. I do not know if you can take parameters out of order. Let's see if that's possible. So we can use our function up at the top, which was that had arguments. So we're going to go back and use some, let's see. So we had the print person where it was first name and last name. Let's try to call print person, left parentheses, last name, colon, double quote, Dowies, comma, first name, colon, double quote, Michael. And because we put them out of order, it does not like that. It says that we have them, it says argument first name must precede argument last name. So we cannot do that.
I'm really surprised about that. What the hell is the point of these tags if you can't pass them in arbitrary order?
Again, I think it's a human readability thing is the whole point of it.
Stupid, Jim says. Sorry.
I understand. Let's find out if there's a way to use the tags out of order. Because there's so many different ways to do things in this. So by default, Swift enforces argument order if you don't use external labels. I guess that's what they call them. I guess if you use those external labels, yeah, if you use external labels, if you use argument labels, so if you use, let's see. It looks like it's saying you should be able to, huh? But I guess that's not the case.
Well, if you put alias, what I call aliases, and they're calling external labels in, then you can do it. Still seems unnecessarily complicated, but I guess that's how you get around it. You want to try that? You want to try putting it?
ChatGPT says that we should be able to, as long as we use the labels like name and age, we should be able to put them in whatever order we want. But we just did that, and that did not work.
Well, didn't you just use variable names, or did you actually put external labels in?
I use the variable names, but it looked like that should. Let me look again. You know, when you look at all this stuff enough, it looks the same. So they have func display info, name colon string, age colon int, and it's saying that that should be able to be reversible. But I did not find that to be the case. So, you know, AI's information can be wrong.
Sorry, I got a quick question about
Sure.
the term you use. It seems like Jim knows what it is. External label. Have we gone over that?
We have so external labels are, I believe what they use the external labels for is like the underscore. That's how ChatGPT refers to the underscore.
Oh, so Wait, your underscore that you just use in your function that's used as a optional
It's saying
parameter?
that the label is not needed, or in fact, you don't need to use it. Remember, we use the underscore for the 5+3.
Yeah, that's called
Yep.
external label.
No, wait. This is getting confusing.
Yeah.
Michael, what is the syntax for adding the external label? When you do a function declaration, can you show that again?
So I want to make sure I'm getting the terms right, because
I think an external label is the by and the song. I think it's song name. When you did the song name function, you had external labels in that function definition.
yeah. So actually, the external labels are anytime you have those by or those. The underscore also counts as that, though.
I disagree. I mean, you're teaching, but I disagree. I think the underscore means that you are giving the compiler permission to not use variable name colon or label name colon when doing
You
the
are,
call.
but you're using the same format.
Well, yeah, I mean the syntax is similar, but
Yeah, it's
But-
the same syntax, but you're using a different thing. You're using the same. So either you use underscore basically what you need to remember is underscore means you do not have to use a label to label your arguments.
right. But right now we're trying to disambiguate variable name colon and external label colon.
Yeah.
I think that's what's confusing people. So can you go back and show the difference between those two? Don't worry about the underscore, but the variable name colon versus the external label colon.
So variable name colon is, for example, for me, it's on line 30, where we have func print person, parentheses, first name, colon, string, comma, last name, colon, string. That is variable name. When we call that, we're calling print person, parentheses, first name, colon, Taylor, in quotes, comma, last name, colon, double quote, aren't. Right? So that's using the variable name. Now, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to prompt you to now. So now do the external labels.
So the external labels, or as we're calling external labels, is when we have func say hello, parentheses to name, colon, string. So we're saying hello to, and we have print hello, and then the name. And the function call says say hello, parentheses to, to, like we're saying hello to, and then the Jim. That's those external labels, or whatever we want to call them.
So what's I know Jim was calling it tags, and are we loosely calling these things, or external label is external label?
I made up the term tags because I didn't know what else to call them, but apparently the
Yeah.
word calls them external labels.
Okay, so that's the formal way of saying it, is the external
That I've
label.
seen looking online, they call that external labels.
Okay,
That I've
well,
seen.
that's good. I mean, those are terms that I just need to get myself familiar with. I'll just forget about tags. I'll just call external label.
Yep, that's exactly right.
And if I find the proper answer from Apple, I will let people know that. It's honestly, guys, that's kind of a holdover from Objective-C days. They did that a lot in Objective-C. You'll see that in a lot of API calls, but you don't have to use those when you write your code. But it's important to know that they exist, because these APIs can get really long and very complicated. because they are from a time before we had modern programming languages. Like we were using Objective-C. We were using these calls that were written back in the 90s.
I mean, I guess so, but the way we solved it back in the 90s was we had structures or dictionaries, and you packed everything into a dictionary, and then you did your call and you passed in a dictionary. That's how you
Well,
avoided
I agree with
complex
you.
argument
I agree
lists.
with you. But Objective-C was a totally different animal that it took me 3 years to learn the language just because of not necessarily creating a variable, that was easy, but just calling a function. You are sending a message. You are talking to the function when you are making a function call. It did not make a lot of sense to me. Like it was, view did load, view did disappear with, all this other language, and that stuff is still in UIKit and AppKit. That stuff is still there. You'll see these very convoluted sentence structure based function names. But again, when you're writing your own code, you do not have to do that. You just have to know when you see it out there in the wild that that's what's happening. Okay.
Another quick question, sorry.
Sure.
I forgot to ask that, or maybe I forgot that you had already talked about it. Xcode Swift, is it a compilable language or is it a interpreted script?
It's both, actually. So you could take your code and what we're doing is interpreting it in the playground. Okay. You can also write Swift code in a .swift file, like all of the files that I'm putting up in Classroom. You can take and save on your computer. You could, if you have the Swift interpreter, the Swift package installed in Windows, Mac, Linux, anywhere, you could take this code and type Swift space the file name and run that code. And if you run it from the command line, you could even use the read line command. The reason why we're not doing that here is it takes a lot more time to set up, and we would not have as much time to work on the fundamentals of the language.
But everything you're saying sounds like it's interpreted. You can put it on a machine and you can run it through an interpreter.
Correct.
But it's an interpreted language,
Correct.
which is really pretty phenomenal that everything that runs like on my iPhone is running through an interpreter. It's pretty.
Now it is compiled when you build a Swift UI app. It is compiled.
It can't really.
Yes, it is compiled. It is compiled down into it's compiled because the applications are tiny.
But is it compiled? Is it compiled the same way that Python is compiled? I mean, it's not
No.
really compiled. It's just turned into bytecode, or is it actually turned into native M3 or whatever? Is it turned into native code that runs directly on the chip?
I have a feeling it's I'm not exactly sure. I know that they're using the LLVM compiler to compile this, and I think they're using it's probably bytecode. It probably is that.
Which I still say is interpret. Getting back to your question, I think it's all interpreted, but Michael and I are sort of arguing the nuances in corner cases about whether we mean that or not. But I think it is all interpreted. It's just a matter of how much pre-processing is done to the code before it's given to the interpreter.
Yeah, I don't think it's completely compiled into native. Like, it's not assembly, it's not linked, it's not, just like any other languages. I know that when you compile, it goes down into kilobytes, in size. Whereas previous, when you started building Swift apps, they would actually add the Swift binary to every app that you created, which Swift apps were huge. But now they're basically just using native instructions for the language.
Are they doing that, or did they just pull the interpreter out of each binary and have one interpreter for the entire OS somewhere?
I have a feeling they're just using one interpreter, or I don't know, because it has concurrency, it has modern language frameworks. So I have not looked at the whole chain, but I do know that they are using their own compiler and things that they built for Swift to compile it to bytecode. It's much more efficient than Java bytecode. I know that.
So the product of it after compile is what? It's an extension that says Swift or
No,
dot Swift
the-
code, or what is it gonna be once
the-
it is compiled?
The product is a Swift bytecode. I'm pretty sure that is made to be. Well, it depends on what you're building. If you're building an application like this, it's all interpreted, even on the command line. If you're building it into an iOS app, it is compiled, it is notarized, it is signed, and I'm pretty sure it uses everything on the system. It makes system calls based on the bytecode.
At the beginning of our class, I think you were showing us how to make compiled code, right? Within Swift.
Yes, when you build an app, it
Build an
has
app.
and we can look when we start building apps. We'll look at the project settings where you could look at the Swift compiler, the linking, and all those things that are involved. I know that those compiler settings are there. You can actually go and create a project, a new app, and go and just look at the build settings tab under the project that we looked at from, and you can see all the settings, Jim. And I know you have more experience there than I do. So you can actually look at all of the compiler flags. You can look at all of the different things there.
So I
And I
just went and
know.
asked I
Go
just
ahead.
went and asked ChatGPT this question, and basically it does get compiled down to native code.
Oh, wow.
It takes Swift code and turns it into something called LLVM, which you
Yes.
mentioned earlier. And LLVM it stands for low level virtual machine, but
Yep.
basically it's object code. And then there is a thing that takes that and turns it into actual native code.
Wow.
I'm gonna in my copious amounts of spare time, write a little program and code it, and then compile it into native, and then run a decompiler against it and see what see what it looks like. Because
So
I think that would be really interesting.
I
I'm
do
sorry.
too.
Go ahead. Yeah,
sorry, there's a level called LLVM before going into native code?
that's right.
Okay.
That's right. So Swift gets turned into LLVM. LLVM is a more generic thing that all Apple applications know about, and that gets turned into native code.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, I thought that was the case, but I had not looked into it fully.
And I'm not really aware of LLVM, so I'm kind of interested to learn more about that.
It's open
Anyway,
source, I believe.
is it?
Actually,
Oh, okay, cool.
and I think you could run it on Linux, Windows, everything. The other
Sorry,
thing,
I'm a little bit off topic by asking these questions, but that's the type of discussion I enjoy.
oh no, it's totally fine because the more people are exposed to this, the better app developers you'll be. I mean, I learned something today. I mean, you know, and one of the neat things about this, guys, is, and I don't know if you know this, Jim, Swift is interoperable with C and C++. You can use C libraries and other things and import C code into Swift.
I mean, I don't know what that means exactly.
So
Are you saying I can take a piece of C code, compile it down to an object, and take some Swift code and compile it down into an object, and then link them together?
I've built a project that has used some OCR at one point using a library that was only in C.
Yeah, okay. So
And
Swift can call C libraries. That makes
yes,
sense to me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Then why are we bothering to write stuff in Swift? Write everything in
because
C.
because some people really do not like C. I am one of them. I prefer Swift.
Okay.
Now, I do not know if you can write all of your Swift UI code in C, but
By the way, are we going to start writing UI code? Are we going to start? I'm pushing you a little bit, but are we going to start creating windows and creating menus and creating,
week 10.
week 10? Okay, so we have a ways to go yet.
Yes, we do. We still have object-oriented programming. We still have optionals. We still have enums and structs and all kinds of things to go.
All right, I'm excited.
Yeah. And that's all I really have for today. We went a little longer than I thought we would. It's 8:30 of my time. So do y'all have any final questions before we wrap up?
I'm saying good night. Good night, everybody.
Well, we
Yeah,
have. I want to give you guys the assignment, and I'll put it on
Oh,
the
yeah.
platform.
I
Wait,
have a
hang on.
question.
Yeah, go ahead. Somebody had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is, actually I have one question and one, if I can give a suggestion.
Sure.
My question is, you showed us how to write the, the functions with the long descriptive, names, I'll call them. Is that how we should be writing, or do you want us to write normal, like they write in other languages, like a C type thing where it's very brief and minimal?
it-
How do you want us to write it? Like, what's the best way to do that?
Write descriptive, but you don't have to use the long method that we showed today.
Okay. Now, go ahead, sorry.
It's all up to you how you want to do that. I am not going to say one way or the other. I typically write when I create functions, I like to use the underscore just because I hate having to write the whole thing out and see all of those argument names whenever I write function calls. That's what I do. But again, it's up to you.
Is there any trend that, Apple or other developers are using?
This is
Not
gonna
really.
come down to. Sorry, Michael.
Go ahead, Jim.
I totally am stepping on you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say just not really. That's there's no real big trends there. Even Apple's moving away from the longer function call.
This is a style guide issue. This is if you have a team of developers and you're all writing code, you guys should agree on a style, right? It's like where do you want your braces? Do you want them on the same line as the statement that precedes them, or do you want them online by themselves? How do you want your parentheses? There's a lot of things that go into a style guide, and how you want your function calls to look. Do you want to use tags? Do you want to just use variable name? Or I'm sorry, do you want to use external labels? Do you just want to use variable names? Do you want to use underscores? Those are all things that you get to decide. It's
Yes.
not something that's imposed on you by the compiler, and it's not something where there's a best practice. It's you want some consistency in the code that you write. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay. Now, can I totally give a recommendation of something
Sure.
I figured out?
Mm-hmm.
For those of us who can't, I mean, I can see that there's a screen there, but I can't read it when you're writing. What I figured out to do is to use either on an iPad or an iPhone screen capture. And then I take that whole screen capture and then I bring it over into the AI under Ira. And I have it, when you do that and you go into the AI, you have a choice of describe image. And once you go in there to describe the image, you send the image up and you write a little prompt that tells it, please take out the Swift code in this image. And the AI will come back and just pull all the Swift code and everything else is gone, isn't there.
Maybe.
And
That's
then I
pretty
just share it to whatever. I'm sharing it to, I've shared it to notes, I've shared it to drafts, You can share it to email, but that's what I've been using to capture some of because when you change things, I don't always know and I can't always type as fast to go back and recopy everything. So I've been taking
Right.
screen captures and I figured that out. I think I've been playing with it last week and this week. So I hope maybe it'll help somebody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this will be on YouTube, so others can benefit. And one
Yeah.
of the other things is I always make sure to, if I change something, I read back through the code.
Right.
Just
No, I understand. Yeah.
yeah. And the reason why, and I know people will ask, why don't I use a screen reader to read it? Because some people do get distracted by speech. So I try to read the code out as I'm doing it.
Yeah, I
Um,
appreciate that. I'm copying most of it, but every once
yeah.
in a while you miss stuff.
And then I'm also going to be putting the notes either tonight or tomorrow of all the code on the Google Classroom.
Yes, I've been grabbing that too as well. Thank you. But I just wanted to let people know I've figured that out and that tends to help, especially when you're changing things. And, what did that line say that you were talking about that you changed?
Fantastic.
Now, you can't use Be My Eyes, or I couldn't use Be My Eyes because it wants you to take a picture. You have to, because you already have the images, because you have to screen capture, and they land in your photos. And you just have the default in the Ira AI portion to say, go to my gallery and choose my photos from my gallery.
Fantastic.
I love it.
So,
Thank you for that suggestion. That's actually very helpful.
well, I was hoping it would help somebody, and I guess I should have said at the beginning of class rather than the end.
That's okay. Now we know for next time.
Now,
So
but
you
you
just do
can,
screenshots as it goes along, right?
yes.
Yeah,
Now, I will say
okay.
though that it seems like if you go back to YouTube, you can do the same thing, but you have to maximize the screen in YouTube,
Okay, gotcha.
and then
Okay.
you can go back, and it'll grab it. It's a little bit better with Zoom than it is with YouTube. I was playing with YouTube this morning as I was trying to go through and find certain lines that you had, and I was like, what did he say on the bottom of that? What was there? And I didn't quite sometimes it missed it. The AI missed it because there's so much clutter on the YouTube screens.
Mhm.
Right.
Now I don't know. I'm gonna try to play with to see whether an iPad works better than an iPhone, but my iPad is I don't know what happened. I have no idea. All of a sudden it wanted something from Siri and then it showed me a calculator after I came into your Zoom.
Interesting.
I have
Uh,
no idea what happened.
I want to go ahead and give folks the assignment before too many people decide they're
Okay.
going to take off.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I'm glad you shared.
Me too.
And I will put this on the platform. The assignment is I want folks to create a program that asks that you could put a bunch of variables in. It will call a function to calculate like age, name, hobbies, print all that stuff out, and then where you can have some global variables that you can check the information by. So you could compare basically where you could compare yourself to a person that you enter, like personal details. Basically, create a small application where you could compare like your ages, if you're similar age, based on if statements with the functions. You could do multiple functions, use loops. You can do if statements in loops to check. This is kind of a data exercise here. So, check if you have the same favorite color, same favorite age, and you can make up fictitious people, make up fictitious stuff about yourself, and check if you have favorite, if you have similar friends or any amount of information. Use strings, integers, figure out a way if you could use a Boolean, and so use if statements, functions, and loops, and all the different variable types to compare data And again, look through class notes, look through AI, get help with Notebook LM and other places to figure out how you can do this. And I'll write a more comprehensive thing in the assignments page in Classroom, and just build a Swift app. It doesn't have to ask for input, and because we can't in a playground. So build that, and then I'll see how you do, and we will go from there. And we'll be back next week. I don't remember exactly what's on the schedule, but it's going to be a little bit more advanced in functions. We're going to be adding another piece to the puzzle. So I hope everybody enjoyed it today.
One question.
Yes.
Okay, so if you set up your function with, say, your own variables, how do we set up another one? We could set up another one with somebody else's variables?
Yes. So you could have like person one's variables. You could even store them in a dictionary if you want. And then you could have person two's variables, store them in a dictionary if you want. Or you could just say person one name, person two name, person one age, person two age. Compare them that way. You can have variables in the global variables and variables inside your functions if you want to do this.
And you just define all of their ages and all their names as variables.
Names, ages, favorite colors, favorite
Okay.
music, favorite food, however you want to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? All right.
Thanks, Michael and Taylor.
Thank
All
you
right,
very much.
everybody. We'll see y'all all next week. I think this has been a good class. So thank you all.
Thank
Did-
you.
Thought I heard somebody. Did anybody have a final comment?
Hello.
All right. We will see you guys next time. Oh, Jesh, did you have a comment?
Mike, can you hear me?
Yes.
Actually, I did have a long break because of some medical issues and delay of my Mac. So when do you often have the classroom section every day? Is it only on Saturdays or is it every days?
It probably will be Sunday this week.
Sunday this week. Okay. So I'm starting from the scratch itself. I'm starting from the beginning. So what I'm planning is I'm just planning to hear your YouTube recorded lectures. Then I
Okay.
think I can come to class and make up it gradually.
Yes.
Because I
Absolutely.
had a big gap.
No problem.
So in case of if you will post the classroom time in the group. Am I right?
It's all
Sunday.
yes, Taylor will post that whenever she has office hours.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Y'all have a great day. I'm going to close the room.
Okay. Actually, I had a big, some medical issue and another, so there were some technical issue also with my earpod, Mac, everything.
Okay.
I don't know. Yesterday also I did report to Apple. I don't know whether I have some problem with the variant of my earpod. So that is not a problem at all. But that will go its side. But I will make up it through your YouTube class and office hours.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Have a
Okay.
good day.